Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. We have technically three stories to talk about with the Kansas City Chiefs, but two of those stories are the same story, but for different players, and we will start right there. The Chiefs to exercise fifth-year options for Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis, subtitled both 2022 NFL draftees were eligible for the fifth-year option from Arrowhead Pride by Pete Sweeney. We get the following. Despite earning first-team All-Pro honors in 2023 and second-team honors in 2024, McDuffie has yet to make a Pro Bowl. Karlaftis has neither been named an All-Pro nor received a Pro Bowl nod. Both McDuffie and Karlaftis fall into the second-tier category. McDuffie's projected salary for 2026 is $13.6 million, while Karlaftis will come in at $15.2 million. Now, this may seem a little bit strange because McDuffie has more accolades than Karlaftis, and he was a higher draft pick, but that is because of the position they are playing. Now, here's the thing. The Kansas City Chiefs are likely to be in salary cap trouble, I guess you could say, for the foreseeable future. And while $13.6 million for McDuffie and $15.2 million for Karlaftis are both sizable upgrades from their current salary, that is nothing compared to what they would garner on the open market. I think it is very likely that Trent McDuffie, should he hit the open market, would reset the cornerback market. That is a lot of money. On your screen now are the top, I think 7 or 8 corners by year. Derek Stingley Jr. of the Texans, 26 years old, making $30 million per year. Trent McDuffie would likely make in excess of $30 million per year. But you can go down this list. J.C. Horn, 26, making $25 million. Jalen Ramsey, 31, making $24.1 million. Patrick Surtain II in Denver, making $24 million. Jair Alexander, 28 years old, on the Packers, making $21 million. A.J. Terrell of the Falcons, 27 years old, making $20 million. And Denzel Ward from the Browns, 28 years old, making $20 million as well. I don't think it would be anything out of the world for Trent McDuffie to be making $32 or $33 million average per year should he hit the open market. I believe that Brett Veach has said he does not plan for Trent McDuffie to play on the fifth-year option, meaning that he wants to sign him to an extension rather than doing that, which is a sign of goodwill from the franchise. But man, oh man, would that $13.2 million look like a bargain compared to anything that Trent McDuffie will sign at the conclusion of his fifth year, or should they rework his contract? That is a lot of money for one player at one position, approaching sort of high-end quarterback market value. Not top-tier market value for a quarterback, but high-end. And then we have the edge market here. George Karlaftis, while I think it is unlikely he would reset the edge market, he would be on the upper end of things. He has a lot of accomplishments under his belt as far as sacks, batted passes, etc., and he plays a lot of snaps for the Kansas City Chiefs. You see here, 30-year-old Myles Garrett from the Browns is setting the market value at $40 million per year. The extreme value of edge rushers in the NFL cannot be understated. Danielle Hunter at 31, making $35.6 million. Max Crosby of the Raiders, 28 years old, making $35.5 million. Nick Bosa from the 49ers, 28 years old, $34 million per year. Josh Hines Allen from the Jaguars, 28 years old, 28.2. Brian Burns, 28.2. TJ Watt, 28. Montez Sweat, 24.5. This is probably the area I think you would see George Karlaftis in. The $24 to $28 million a year range based on what he has done on the field. And that is an extreme amount of money for two players. So there's something else we have to talk about. So we're likely to see the Kansas City Chiefs continue to invest heavily along the defensive line and at defensive back in the draft. Trent McDuffie is a very special case, right? You're not going to find many Trent McDuffies in the draft, but taking a cornerback in the third round like Noel Williams was just taken, it's a hefty price because it is a third rounder. You can get a starter at a lot of positions, and Noel Williams is going to come onto this team probably the fourth cornerback in my estimation. You've got Fulton in front of him. I think Jalen Watson is a very strong contender for the number 3 cornerback spot, which really, Jalen Watson as your number 3 cornerback is an embarrassment of riches. And you see guys pushed down on this roster. Najee Johnson, who has started for this team, Joshua Williams, who has started for this team, being pushed maybe out the door this season because of the need to continually draft defensive backs. And the draft is something we're going to get to in a moment as well. Jalen Watson, by the way, keep this in mind for later, a 7th-round pick. Najee Johnson as well. Both players have started at corner for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Najee Johnson, I know that it's easy to say, well, Najee Johnson may have started at corner, but he shouldn't have been. That's not Najee Johnson's fault. Najee Johnson is probably a 4th corner in the NFL. It's probably where he belongs on a depth chart. He was thrust onto the field in a starting position because of injuries for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the draft compensation for these players when you get past the first round is kind of menial, added up to the entire salary cap for the NFL. So throwing all the picks out there that you can at these top tier positions is important. And we've seen the Chiefs take players that are not at these marquee positions, a wide receiver in the first round when he stands out. Right? Xavier Worthy is a standout because of that speed. And it is understandable that it gets kind of boring talking about the Kansas City Chiefs taking a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman or a cornerback in the first round all the time. But this is why. When you're looking at a $40 million per year contract, and look, here's the thing. Myles Garrett is setting the market now. Every year, the sort of contributor levels of these positions creep up and up and up and up. So it's not going to be long until we have guys that are not Max Crosby, Danielle Hunter, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt earning in the $20 millions per year category. So yeah, the Chiefs in the first 3 rounds took an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, and a defensive lineman, and threw a cornerback in there as well. And that's not what you would call a sexy draft. But you can get contributors. So I think there was a lot of people wanting the Kansas City Chiefs to take a running back early. Well, yeah, there was great running backs in this draft. You can get starting level running backs later. You can get contributor level running backs later. If you have to have 3 running backs on your team to do what one Derrick Henry does, well, then you go with the 3 contributor running backs as opposed to the one marquee name at running back, because then you're spending lots of money at a position that is keeping you from spending $40 million a year on your starting edge player. And that's going to come back in a moment as well. So these are both positions also where you can't have too many contributors. These are both positions where you can't have too many players that are good on your roster, and having extra starting level players kicking around your roster is a good thing. So plan on continuing to watch Brett Veach take swings at edge and cornerback in the draft, because once those rookie contracts lapse, boy howdy, is the money to follow. Now, this is going to be very unpopular, and I know. And Trey Smith is one of my favorite players on the Kansas City Chiefs as well, because he is a throwback, and a throwback at any position, right? He is one of those hard-nosed, tough players who goes out there in order to make people question their life decisions. And he does that, and he does that very well. But this might also be why we have seen the Kansas City Chiefs reticent to cut ties with all of the offensive linemen that they have on their roster that are not starting level left tackles. Paying Trey Smith $23.4 million this year is going to cause ripples through the higher leverage positions on the roster. What is the difference between, and I'm asking this, I'm not saying this facetiously, the difference between a Trey Smith who is an elite right guard versus a standard starting level right guard? And let's be honest, we've seen Trey Smith struggle in pass protection. So what is the difference between an elite right guard and a good right guard? How many plays per game does that affect? Especially at the interior offensive line, where you often have a Creed Humphrey of the world to help out if somebody is causing problems, where you can have a running back stick in the backfield to chip somebody if your right guard is having problems. Very difficult to have a running back contribute blocking prowess to an elite edge player. But if it's a defensive tackle, well, he might be outmatched from a physical perspective, but having him chip a defensive tackle to help your guard is way easier than watching TJ Watt stream around that left tackle position and your running back is basically just fodder on the way to the quarterback. So you have on the screen here the top offensive guards, and this is a big thing. Trey Smith is not just the highest paid offensive guard. He's the highest paid offensive guard in the league by $3 million, all the way down to Chris Lindstrom of the Falcons at $20.5 million. Then you have Robert Hunt at 20. Those are the only three guards in the NFL over the 20 million mark. Samuel Cosmi of the Commanders down at 18.5. Let's see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The eighth offensive guard in the league, Jonah Jackson of the Bears, is nearly $10 million per season cheaper than Trey Smith. If you can get an offensive guard to start for your team on a rookie contract, and they have a lot of guys who have starting guard potential on the team, it saves money for the bucket towards edge, towards corner, maybe towards elite wide receiver if you need one of those. We have seen Patrick Mahomes elevate numerous wide receivers on the roster. Patrick Mahomes and that massive right arm of his cannot do anything to play cornerback, cannot do anything to play edge. So this is an albatross on the roster, $23.4 million, $3 million more than the next offensive guard. Now, the next bit of news that we have here is, albeit a little bit of speculation, but it is well-grounded speculation. The following comes to us from KC Kingdom by Chris Shad. DeAndre Hopkins may give the Chiefs a gift on his way out of KC. Chiefs projected to receive 2026 NFL draft pick for DeAndre Hopkins' departure. Monday marked the end of the NFL's compensatory draft pick period, which compensates teams for losing talent during free agency. While most of the moves canceled out, meaning the players that the Chiefs signed versus that walked out in free agency. Where was I? Sorry. Hopkins' move stood alone, with Over the Cap projecting that the Chiefs will receive a 7th-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. According to Over the Cap's explanation, contracts are ranked via a final numerical value on the sum of points awarded as an inverse ranking of the contract's average per-year percentage of snaps played on offense or defense, minimum of 25%. And whether the player was honored on the AP All-Pro or PFWA on-field awards list. The round for each contract is assigned on a percentile basis, with third-round picks awarded in the top 5 percentile of contracts, fourth-round picks awarded from the 5th to the 10th percentile, fifth-round picks awarded from the 10th to 15th, etc. It should be noted that these are projections and things could change by the time the Kansas City Chiefs get to next offseason. But after sending a 2024 fifth-round pick, which ended up becoming Sacramento State guard Jackson Slater, to the Tennessee Titans, the Chiefs wound up receiving a 2026 seventh-round pick in addition to Hopkins, taking some of the sting out of an unsuccessful trade. I would argue the trade was not altogether unsuccessful. The Chiefs did go to the Super Bowl. Hopkins was important along the way. Maybe not vital, maybe not crucial, but certainly important along the way. One of the things that Hopkins did on the roster, if you remember early in the season, Hollywood Brown went down prior to the season. Rashee Rice went down early in the season. This forced not just Xavier Worthy to be on the field more snaps than probably he should have been, but in positions where he probably should not have been. This may have stunted his growth as a wide receiver and ended up taking some of the zip off of what it was that he could do on the field, because all of a sudden he's having to play somewhere besides the slot. So, but that's kind of neither here nor there, but that seventh-round pick, remember, Trey Smith was a sixth-round pick, started at offensive guard. Now, there was some health things, probably slipped too far, etc., but that's the truth of the matter. That happens every year. That happened this year with Josh Simmons. Jalen Watson was a seventh-round pick, has won 2 games for the Kansas City Chiefs in startling fashion. That pick 6, wasn't it 99 yards against the Chargers his rookie season, and then the playoff game against the Jaguars ended that drive at the end of the game for the Jaguars with an interception. Add to it, well, guys, the seventh round, the same seventh round, gave the Chiefs not just Najee Johnson, but also Isaiah Pacheco, who has started at running back for the Kansas City Chiefs for a few years, and bring into it Rashad Smith, who is likely to get decent reps for the Kansas City Chiefs this season at running back, also a seventh-round pick. So, these things all kind of play off of each other. Those draft picks are necessary. Those lottery picks kind of in the 7th round are necessary, and it might go a long way towards helping the Kansas City Chiefs not have to pay $23+ million on an offensive guard. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We are over 2 years of consecutive daily uploads, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.